my channel. I'm Shiro of Tajikix and you're here at Shee Bakes, our YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for subscribing to our channel. We are so grateful for your support. Indeed, it's amazing just being able to come to you and just show you different ways of doing amazing things in the kitchen. So today, a lot of you have been asking me how to do bread at home. So I'm going to share a very simple recipe and just demonstrate how I do my bread at home. It's very easy, really, very easy. So I have already measured out the ingredients with me here. In this bowl, I have flour, 4.5 cups of flour. I have used bread brown flour, and I've mixed it with a bit of white all-purpose flour. In here I have sugar and I have salt. I'm going to leave the measurements and the ingredients on the description box, so don't worry. So here I have flour, sugar and salt. Then over here in my small jug I have mixed together yeast, instant yeast, and this is the yeast I use, just normal instant dry yeast. That's the one I use. So I've mixed here yeast, a bit of sugar and warm milk, and then I've given it some time, like about 20 or so minutes, for the yeast to be activated. See how bubbly it looks like? That's what you want, so make sure it's this bubbly. And then I have 1.5 cups of milk for kneading, and I have about, I think there's a quarter cup melted butter. You could also use vegetable oil in place of the butter, and you could also use water in place of the milk. I just prefer a richer, a richer tasting kind of bread. So let's get right to it. So you need to do this beforehand. Mix your yeast. Make sure it's well. I don't know what name we call it. I don't know whether it's called blooming or what. I'm not sure what it's called. But just make sure that it's well bubbled. And then I'm just going to create a well inside my bowl here. And then you're going to mix in everything else. So you put in your yeast mixture. So that's the yeast with the milk and sugar. So this is about, I think, a tablespoon of sugar, 1.5 tablespoons of yeast, and 1/2 cup milk. So put all of it in. Then next you put in your butter or your oil. I've already measured it out and melted it. So there goes my butter. And then 1.5 cup milk. Make sure your milk is at room temperature. Okay. And then with your clean hands, mix everything together. And so at first it's going to be a very, sticky mess, but it's fine. See how sticky it is? That's fine. So make sure you mix in everything. So don't worry that it's sticky. It will all come together when we start kneading. So don't let this worry you one bit. So what I'm going to do now, I'll take my scraper, just scrape it off my hands, and then we'll cover this with a clean towel for about 15 or so minutes. Then we'll come back and continue kneading. I find that when I do this, I end up with a very nice and fluffy bread. Okay, I'm not sure I'm able to get all of it off my hands now. But yeah, most of it is out. So we're just going to cover this with a clean towel, let it rest for about 15 minutes, and then we'll be back to continue kneading. Hey, so welcome back. It's been 15 minutes, trust me, it's 15 minutes, and time to continue kneading our mixture in here. So I have a bit of flour with me, about half a cup or so. So I'm just going to sprinkle this on my work surface, and then just empty out my dough over here. Still sticky. Remember, I told you it's going to be very sticky. That's okay, don't worry. Just sprinkle some bit of flour and try to get everything out. I'm just doing this because I'm going to reuse this bowl once we're done kneading. I don't want to have to just, wash it. So this works. Okay, nice, clean. So I'm just going to start kneading this, and it's very sticky, but trust me, everything is going to come all together. It's going to be a bit messy, and you're going to knead this for 20 minutes. Yes, 20 minutes. Let me just get my scraper so that I'm able to keep doing it. There you go. I like using the scraper so that I'm able to keep lifting my dough every now and then. But if you don't have it, don't worry, use your hands. So quite sticky at first, but it's okay. So our flour, and watch what I'm doing. I'm not sprinkling on top of my dough. I'm just dusting my work surface. Okay. Again, you don't want to use too much flour, because then that will give you a very heavy and very dense dough, and the yeast will not be able to rise properly, or rather your dough won't rise properly, and then you'll end up with a very dense bread. When you cut through bread and then it doesn't look nice and fluffy, we don't want that. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure my hands are not so sticky. Some bit of flour. So you need with this part, I don't know what this part of your hand is called, but that's the part you use for kneading. When it starts getting sticky, again sprinkle a bit of flour on your surface. Remember, you're not trying to knead the flour into your dough. You're just sprinkling a bit on your work surface so that you're able to knead without it sticking too much. But the more you continue to knead this, it becomes soft and less sticky. Actually, by the time you're done, your dough is actually not sticky anymore. It's just very soft, nicely pliable, and not sticky. Okay. And I do hope you're going to try this recipe. I have been keeping away from trying bread for a very long time, just because I thought it's too much work. It's just easier to just buy bread from the local supermarket. But I think when I did my first bread a few months ago, during this COVID season, I made it, and then I saw the joy that my family had, and my kids just eating homemade bread. And my son couldn't believe I'd made bread from my bakery. And so I decided, why not? So I haven't bought bread in about 3 months or so. And it's amazing. It's fun. I enjoy doing it. Of course, it's quite a workout. You work out your hands. It's quite exciting. So I'm going to speed up this video. So when I come back, it will be already after 20 minutes of kneading, and then I'll let you know what we do then. So it's been about 18 or so minutes, and as you can see, my dough is coming on together nicely. Looks really nice. It's no longer sticky on my hands. It's really soft and very pliable. See, it doesn't stick, yet it's very soft. See, my hands are clean, it's not sticking. And that is what you want, and that's one of the cues for you to know if your dough is ready. And for now, I know it's ready. So the next thing we do is to allow our dough to rise, and I'm just going to, spray my bowl. I decided to get a bigger bowl just so that my dough has enough space to rise. So at this point, you shape your dough nicely, sort of like tucking it in underneath, and then put it in your oiled bowl like that. See, like that. So you oil your bowl so that your dough doesn't stick onto the bowl. Now I'm using some vegetable spray, but you can use butter to grease your tin. You can also use vegetable oil, also fine. But I'm just going to let this rise and double in volume. So by the time I come back, I expect that it's going to be, this full, to have puffed up all the way up to the top. So we cover this with, you can cover it with a clean towel. I don't think my towel will cover. It's a bit tiny, it's a bit thin. So I'm just going to cover it with cling film. Cover it nicely, make sure that your dough is not exposed, so that you don't form a hard crust on your dough. Okay, like that. Let's see. Okay, like that. So we cover it just like that, and then I'm going to leave this on a warm surface, pretty much warm. Usually when I'm in a rush, what I do is that I will heat my oven to about 90 degrees for about 8 or so minutes, then switch it off, and then we'll put this inside the oven. Make sure you're using a bowl that is oven proof. You don't want to use a plastic one that will burn. But then once I put it in, I leave the door of the oven slightly open. I don't want it to heat. I'm not baking the dough. I'm just putting it in a in a warm place for it to proof. Now commercially they use proofers. I do not have a proofer. I decided I'm just going to do this, improvise. But if you have time, which I think right now we do have time, I'm just going to let this rest for about 2 hours on a very warm place, just a warm place. Usually at times I just place it on top of my oven or somewhere. Yeah, near where it's warm. So for 2 hours, and then we'll come back, remove it from the bowl, knead it a bit, put it in our baking tins, proof the second time, and then bake. Easy. So let's give it 2 hours, and then we'll be back. Thank you. So welcome back. It's been about slightly over 2 hours, and my dough is well risen. It has had enough time to proof and just fill up. See how much it is. Remember, we started with a very tiny portion, but see how much it's risen. Awesome, awesome. So I'm just going to flour my surface lightly, very lightly, and then just get this one out. So at this point we sort of want to like deflate the dough a bit, just a bit, knead it a bit, and then we're going to put it in our baking tins, in our bread tins. Okay, so what I like doing is using a weighing scale. I'm going to weigh my dough. Oh, it's not working. Okay, perfect. A few bangs and it works. Okay, so I'm just going to weigh my dough. It's about 1288 grams. So I need to divide this into two so that I bake this into 2 tins. This recipe gives 2 loaves of bread. So I'm just going to slice that halfway, and I'll measure each half. So each half should be about 600 and something grams, thereabout. What is 1288 divided by 2? That should be 644, I guess. Yay! There you go. Got it right. So now what I want to do with my 2 balls of dough, I want to sort of like roll them out, shape it into like a big, I don't know what to call it, like a log. Yeah, sort of like a log. And then I need to make sure that it's going to fit into my baking pan. So just for guidance purposes, I'm just going to roll it a bit. Yeah, and that's a good size. So at this point you grease your tin. So that your bread doesn't stick, and so that it's easy for you to get out. Remember I said you can use butter, you can use vegetable oil. So I'm just going to shape it nicely. And this dough is very soft, nice and pliable, and it's not sticky at all. See my hands? Clean? It's not sticky at all. So my log is ready, if I may call it so, and I'm just going to put it inside the tin. Make sure it's well evenly placed. There you go. And then I'm going to do the same with this other one. It's sort of like tucking it underneath itself. I'm not sure if there's a formula to this, but I mean, this is how I do it. Okay, so let's tuck it in. My second tin, put it in there. Nice. Okay, so there you go. I have my 2 tins with the dough. Then what I like doing at this point is just brushing the tops with beaten egg. So this is a whole egg. I've already, whisked it, and then using a pastry brush, I'm just going to brush lightly at the top. Just brushing the tops, and this makes sure that you have that nice golden shiny look of your bread after it's baked. You can still do this after. So after this, we are going to let the dough rise again, the second proofing, for again about an hour or two. If you're at a warm place, you can do it for an hour, but usually, generally, anything between 1 to 2 hours is fine, all until it's well risen. So yeah, nice and nicely brushed. Awesome. So what you're going to do, we will cover this with cling film again and let the dough rise again, and then we'll bake it. Now ordinarily this step of this is called it's what we call the egg wash. You can do that before or after the dough has risen. The tricky bit with doing it after the dough has risen, from my own experience, is that I tend to poke the dough and deflate it, because I mean it is well risen and all. So when I try to brush the egg on top, I find that at times it's like I deflate the dough. So I prefer, you know, doing the egg wash before my dough rises. And so this is it, well covered. So I'm just going to allow this to rise for about an hour or two, and then we'll bake it at I bake this at 190 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes, and then yeah, we'll be ready. So the next time I'm back, I'll be showing you the final product. We'll be unveiling, we'll be getting the bread from the tins. So see you then.